The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to Stone Cold Podcast. I'm lucky enough to be coming to you from the Broken Skull Ranch, the pride of South Texas. It's already hotter than hell outside. We got all the lights going here. And I've got the greatest professional wrestler who ever graced God's green earth sitting in front of me. His name is Nature Boy Ric Flair. Rick, how are you?
I'm great, but I wish you would have sent a helicopter to bring me out here, man. Where are we?
We're in the middle of nowhere, man.
I thought we were riding through Afghanistan like in 2005. I'm looking for the troops.
Rick piled out of his Escalade while ago. The driver, he's got sandals on.
Yeah, not my Escalade. A driver who couldn't find this place. Holy cow! How? How do you go from L.A. to this?
It's easy. It's very relaxing for me to be out here. Do you not find this relaxing?
I find it relaxing, but I tell me what it really means you're in love with your wife. Because I could never live with a woman confined to something like this. 100 miles from any kind of social life. You really got to be in love, and I'm happy for you.
I love it out here. To me, this is the greatest place in the world to be.
It's beautiful.
I can get away from everything, and I dedicate 2 months out of my life to coming down here, and I won't leave this place. I tell everybody I won't leave, and I thank you for coming all the way out here.
I didn't have a choice. I just figured that you'd have a helicopter or something.
Oh, WWE called
Nobody could drive. Your wife just said she drives 2 hours to go grocery shopping.
That's a shoot. If you forget a gallon of milk, you go for a week without a gallon of milk.
I'm worried about you and your beer.
I never run out of beer.
Okay,
I got my own beer now.
Okay.
So I never run out of beer. This is going to be an interesting conversation because, in my opinion, and most of my peers' opinion, it goes to Triple H, to Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, and on and on and on. That you're the greatest ever to lace up a pair of boots.
Thank you.
I went back to your autobiography and picked a few facts out that I wanted you to expound upon. Your influences from your early days. You said in that book you were a black market baby. You were adopted. What did black market baby define that for me?
It means I was.
Did your original parents just drop you off somewhere?
No. Well, my original parents, I was stolen
from Memphis, Tennessee.
From a hospital, yeah, and put in a orphanage. And my original parents I've never met, I've never wanted to. My mother was a nurse and my dad was an architect. They would have been my parents. But my mom and dad adopted me. My dad was in Detroit, and it was really hard back then to adopt as a doctor, long hours, long time, right? And my mother had just lost a baby at birth, and couldn't have children. So somehow they adopted me, and then I ended up going to Detroit. And then my dad went from Detroit, where he was a resident, to opened up practice in Minneapolis. So I got to celebrate. My birthday was the 25th, and they called it my anniversary was the 18th. So I got to go to any restaurant I wanted to. One day they told me I was adopted, and I was about 10.
So that's when they smartened you up and let you know what time it was. What did you think about that? How did that affect you as a kid?
It didn't. I didn't think about it, and I have an ex-wife that to this day is so mad that I wouldn't go back, saying I'm being selfish. Because you don't know what your family history is. You're going to die. Do you have heart? I just had no desire to go there, and I'm the only one that could open the vault.
Right.
And I never did it. I had no desire to. My mom and dad were great. I don't think they understood what they were taking on.
Yeah.
But they put up with it.
What were they taking on? Because what kind of kid were you? I know you were big into sports. You were all-state in football. You were 4th or 5th in the shot put every year. But were you rambunctious as a kid growing up? A little bit crazy?
Well, in 9th grade, I was either going to go to detention school or go into private school. So I had gotten in trouble. Nothing malicious, riding my motorcycle around the lake, my parents out of town, driving my mom and dad's car when I was 14 years old, when they were out driving the other one, out driving my friends around there where I got caught, right? And then trying to buy liquor underage, and that was time to go to Wisconsin. So they put me in a private boarding school, which was And it took me a couple of days to figure that out, kind of like my other vacation spot that I talked about. Yeah. But once I figured it out, man, I was right there in Wisconsin, and all of a sudden, the kids in private school have ways of doing things that are way beyond what they do in public school. I wasn't there 2 days, and someone handed me an ID, said I was 18 years old. Yeah. So the way I got over was there was a place across the street where we had a break where we could go shoot pool, but none of the kids would go over there because there was a guy, I still got his name, Mickey Minovich, told everybody to stay out of there, he'd kick their ass. So I said, what? I said, is this kid over here is telling us we can't? He goes, yeah, he'd already slapped a couple of guys. And I just said, hey, the guy said, you guys aren't allowed here. I said, says who? And I was already a hero just standing up to him. We didn't fight. I said, you can either move out of the way and let us play pool, or I'll kick your ass and you won't be allowed back in here. Yeah. And of course the whole place is looking at me, and that was it. I mean, I wasn't going to have somebody tell me that I couldn't play pool because, they're going to kick my ass or something. So how did you get from this academy to start selling insurance before you got into business? Because when I came back, I went to the University of Minnesota, and I went there on a scholarship, right? And football? Yeah, I never got to play. Obviously, I didn't predict a .7, so the scholarship was gone. I joined a fraternity, and I just stayed in the fraternity for 2 years. And this guy ran into the bar one night and says, what are you doing? I said, nothing. I was bouncing in the bar. That's where I met Patera, right? And yeah. He said, why don't you sell life insurance? And he said, well, you must know everybody in town. I said, I do. So I just sold all my friends, like about 20 kids, life in $10,000 policies, right? I was riding high at a brand new Riviera, living in a $1,500 a month apartment. And I've never understood, but to this day I have a real hard time with the word, moderation? Moderation, thank you. Yeah. And moderation, if I got it, we're going. You mentioned meeting Ken Patera. For the people that don't know, at one time he was the world's strongest man, yes. Olympic lifter. We lived together. Yeah. And the idea was that if Ken won the gold medal, in which he was favored to do in Munich, 72 Olympics, that he would come back. And Verne was subsidizing him. He'd moved from Portland to Minneapolis, and he was subsidizing him with income, that he would promote him as the world's strongest man. And Ken Patera was incredibly strong. 6 feet tall, 330 pounds, and he could stand under a basket and dunk the basketball. So was it your idea, his idea, to go join? Well, I know Verne took him, and he said, why don't you go? And I thought, oh, man, I like it, So we go out there. I'm 300 pounds, Ken's 330 pounds, first day, Verne's farm, And your place is much nicer than Verne's, trust me. This is just a farm in the middle of nowhere. November, so we got there, and then 500 free squats and 200 push-ups. Well, it took me 2 hours. I don't think I ever completed that day. I went home and quit. I said, this isn't wrestling. What's this? I couldn't even walk. I had never done a free squat. What drew you back? Gagne came over to my house and took me out and threw me out in the front yard of my house. He said, you quit, you screwed up in high school, you quit in college, you ain't quitting this. I said, you be there tomorrow? Slap me across the face. Whew. But how much do you go back and say, man, thank God for Verne Gagne? Yeah, I say it all the time. Moment. Yeah, I know. If he hadn't done that, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. No, I know. It taught me, it was an incredible experience, and, something that made me so conscious of being fit going forward. What were you wrestling under when you first started? My name? Yes. Ric Flair. Ric Flair. Oh, I went to Verne. I said, I want to call myself Ramblin' Ricky Rhodes. He said, what? I said, I want to call myself Ramblin' Ricky Rhodes and go as Dusty's brother. I said, I asked him. He said, that ain't happening. What's wrong with Ric Flair? And I said, well, that's not my name. He said, it is now. It's not Ric Flair anymore. It's Ric Flair. And that was it. And I'm glad you're telling this story, because I wanted to tell your transition from being just a guy who was a wrestler to find your way to being the Nature Boy Ric Flair, the guy who had gone on to be the greatest world champion in the history of the sport. So that these people, the things that I went through as just Steve Williams, Steve Austin, Stunning Steve, Superstar, Ringmaster, Stone Cold, I went through a process. You wouldn't think the greatest that's ever done it would have to search to find, and we're going to get to those other pieces as we go.
So you go from AWA and you go down to Crockett. So was it NWA?
What happened? Wahoo left.
Yeah.
Because George Scott and he were close friends. And so I was just sitting there and I wasn't making any money. And Wahoo said, George Scott said, you want to come to Carolina? And I said,
and George
yeah.
Scott's booking Carolina.
They're booking Carolina. And I went to my dad and said, can I borrow $400? My dad said, nope. If you think you're going to go off on this, my dad and he wasn't sold on the pro wrestling. And I mean, far from sold. And so I went to Verne. I said, can I borrow $400? He said, nope. He said, I'm not in the business. You got to figure this out. You're going down there. You're going to be a man. So I landed there, and I wrestled Abe Jacobs that night at the Charlotte Coliseum, and I went to see Jimmy Crockett the next day, introduced myself. Well, I had that night. He said, come on to the office. So I hitchhiked down to the office, and because I didn't have a car, I left it with Leslie, and I said, he said, I'm pretty impressed with you from last night. He said, what can I do to help you get started? I said, well, I just don't have any money and I want to bring my family. He said, well, here. Walked into the accountant, came back and handed me a check for $2,000. So within a month, I'm making $1,000 a week.
Okay, you're making $1,000 a week.
Within a month.
Within a month?
Yeah.
Making that, and that's big money.
Yeah, big time.
Especially way back in.
Yeah. Guess what I did?
What?
I went and bought a Cadillac.
Doesn't everybody?
I used one. It's okay.
Doesn't everybody?
Four-door black Fleetwood, brother.
This was the beginning of the Nature.
Oh, yeah, right there.
But we're not there yet.
$1,000 for 1 week? Oh, yeah.
But before we get there,
black Fleetwood four-door, baby.
but then devastation happens because there's a plane crash. Mm-hmm. And you break your back in 3 places. Mm-hmm. Who lost his life on that?
Michael Farkas, the pilot.
Michael Farkas, the pilot.
And then Valentine and Bob Brugger is paralyzed.
Yeah.
Well, Bob he could walk around a little bit, but Johnny could never walk again, paralyzed.
I saw the wreckage of the plane.
Yeah.
Were you just strapped?
Isn't that amazing that we lived?
Did you tumble out into the woods or?
No, the only thing that I did right that day was we always argued because if you're sitting in the back of a Cessna 310, big guys like us, right, especially the third row, it's claustrophobia. It used to drive me crazy. But John's knees were so bad, so John always got to sit up front, right? Well, John didn't have a seatbelt on. When they took John out of the plane, he was up to his armpits in the dashboard, the cockpit. I mean, that was it. He didn't have a seatbelt on, which it doesn't say it would have made any difference, but because the seatbelt actually is what caused my contraction because it held me, but the impact. We hit the ground going 230 miles an hour. So that's what the speedometer was stuck on.
So what did they haul you off?
They hauled us off, and back then it was the old ambulances like in the war, right, where there's 3 beds. It wasn't a big luxury thing and all that. Yeah. And they said to me, "I better hurry. I think we're going to lose this one." And I thought they were talking about me. It was Bob Brugger that had gone into shock.
Right.
So I grabbed this guy and I go, "Man," I said, "there's a note in my shaving kit in my bag." I said, "You got to get that. It's to a girl named Sheila." Yeah, and guess what? This story gets even better. You got it. 5 years later, I was wrestling somewhere, and the guy knocked on the door. I was in Carolina, and the guy says, "There's a guy out here that says that he was at the site of your airplane crash. He's got something you told him to get." I said, "What?" There was a letter. "Tell Sheila I love her." Oh yeah, nice. All I need is my wife open up my shaving kit. Yeah, okay.
Isn't that a good thing? She's going to break more bones in your back.
Exactly.
So you're in the hospital. You got a broke back in 3 places. How long did it take you to mend up?
I was back in the ring in 8 months. Well, first of all, they told me I'd never wrestle, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but this is something that you'll identify with because it's our business, right? So they give me this big back brace, right? And I hadn't been able to get out of bed at home for a month. So I'm going out in the office, right? And I feel like everything, oh, God, sympathy, how you doing, Rick, and all that, right? And Crockett paid me the whole time.
Wow, that's unheard of.
$1,000 a week, yep. And so I had a back brace on and all that, and I walk in the office, and George Scott says, "What is that? What do you got on?" I said, "It's the back brace I have to wear." He says, "Take that damn thing off." He said, "That's only going to make every other muscle in your body atrophy faster." He said, "Don't ever let me see you wear that again. Not hi, how are you? How you doing, kid? Nothing.
And this is coming from a guy
George
who's
Scott.
looking the territory, and all the guys are self-made doctors, right?
Yeah, but they're all sitting there, and the whole place is going like, I thought everybody's going, hey, Rick, how you doing? Man, not a chance.
Hey, you okay?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Take that thing off. Every other muscle in your body will atrophy. It's a true story. But still, I had to stabilize myself a little bit, according to the doctor,
Did you know you were going to come back to the ring?
I did a month and a half later. He said, I can't believe how fast you're healing. And then when I came back, the funny thing was, it's funny because there was no cell phones in the 70s, but it was a pay phone in our dressing room, right? I would call him and say, are you sure I can do this? He said, yes. Yeah, I said, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't run in the turnbuckle, right? And I couldn't take a flat back bump.
Right.
And so there's George Scott again. He said, you're going to wrestle Woods an hour every night till you take a backdrop.
Missed wrestling too?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a long hour. Farmville, Virginia. We weren't in front of 20,000 people. And I said, well, after about a week of wrestling Tim, who was a shooter, being stretched, pushed, whatever, right? I finally just whipped me and I'll take it. And boom, I did it.
But let's talk about getting the nod, because before you got the nod, I'm assuming you had that conversation with George Scott. Maybe after he told you to take the back brace off, he says, hey, man, Buddy Rogers kind of reminds me of you.
Right.
You kind of remind me of Buddy Rogers. Mm-hmm. And what about kind of losing some of the tie-dye stuff and kind of, doing the Nature Boy stuff?
Yeah.
Well, so did you fully embrace that right off the bat? Because you're thinking, man, I'm jacking the guy's trademark.
No, I never thought like that. Because I met Buddy later in life. But Olivia Walker and Johnny Walker and Tim Woods were very close friends, from the days in Georgia. So Olivia and Johnny were in Charlotte, and they had a party at their house. I was at it. Olivia being the woman that made all my ropes.
Yes.
Olivia Walker, who God rest in peace. And she said I could start making some real fancy stuff, and I said, back then, I did the same thing, how much, right? But I didn't care. She said, I'll make it something really different than anybody else. I said, well, that'd be great. So she made me the first one, right? And then, of course, we just kept adding rhinestones and beads. And, I started out at like 3,200 for the first one, and then up to, the rest of them were like 10, 12,000.
And so then you become the Nature Boy.
Yeah. Yep.
So
once the robes were in place and things started coming, and then I was feeling more comfortable with my on the mic skills, where I was talking and getting time, and then the woo thing came from listening to Jerry Lee Lewis. I just started doing woo one day, and look where it is now.
Woo! 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 The world heavyweight champion, Nature Boy Ric Flair. Woo! We're coming. Right back.
But so that ends up you and Dusty Rhodes in Kansas City. And Dusty had been there a little bit before you. He has the title. And they decide that they want you as the champion. But back in the day, your first title run, you'd been traveling up and down the road, but now you're representing the most coveted belt in all of the United States, all over the world. And so what was your first tour like as the world champion?
I was gone 9 weeks.
But talk to me about your family life, because
none.
I think in one of your interviews, it might have been Megan, she said they saw you 7 to 10 times a year.
I know.
That's a shoot?
Yep.
So you didn't have a family life?
I think everybody looks in life, and I don't think everybody finds it something they're good at. And when I realized that I could really be good at this, and I just didn't ever want to be second to anybody. And that, I look back in hindsight, was I selfish with my family and all that? Well, here's the deal. Was I selfish? I could either be on the road and be the second best, or I could be on the road and be the best. It wouldn't have made my home life any different, because I've been on the road anyway.
Yes.
Probably not quite as much, and traveling as far all the time, like Japan and Australia and New Zealand, but I said to myself, you're going to be gone, and Steve, for me too, the business was always fun.
On the road, without the family, what'd you do to maintain sanity?
You're going to get me in trouble.
You've been in trouble. I'm on my fourth marriage. I don't know which one you're on. I found my soulmate.
I'm just getting through my fourth. So, man, you know what? I just always had, I guess, hanging around Ray Stevens, I learned that there's something going on somewhere, anywhere, and I found it. In Hutchinson, Kansas, after wrestling Mark Romero, not Mark Merrill, but Mark Romero, right, for an hour in a used car parking lot in the rain for an hour, right? I'm going to find somebody and somewhere to drink. And I did.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Do you own a home or condo? Or perhaps you rent a house or apartment? Sure you do. And Geico knows it can be hard work. Because whether you own or rent, you still have to fill it full of your stuff. Your furniture, the flat screen, and all the boxes of stuff that have been sitting there ever since you moved in, but haven't unpacked. It's hard to find the time, right? But you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. That way, you'll rest easy knowing that your home and all your stuff is protected, like the furniture and that flat screen. Plus, getting a quote on homeowners and renters insurance is super easy through Geico. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. You know, like going through all those boxes of stuff. Visit geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
What do you attribute all this greatness to? I mean, can you describe your lifestyle? I got Mercedes-Benz, a Lincoln Continental, the Corvette, a Rolls Royce, live in the biggest house on the biggest hill, and I got a limousine sitting out there a mile long with 25 women just dying for me to go. Woo!
But let's go back to when you're really on a roll here, and you're living a gimmick, and you decide to buy a limousine.
Yep.
And you pay a guy $25 to drive you to the town just because
$25 and
the favor on the side. The kid was happy in every town he went to.
He worked at the Texaco station.
There's people that act like professional wrestlers, and there's people who are professional wrestlers. Or you call them sports entertainment.
Well,
we're at the Broken Skull Ranch.
I was in the Raleigh.
Yeah.
And the governor, they put in some other guy said the governor is selling his limousine with a '78 Lincoln limousine, tricked out, TV inside. The phones where you can talk to the driver up front. I went over and bought it for $10,000, and I mean, when I went over in that limo, you talk about heat, man.
How much heat did you have with the boys for doing that?
Well, the boys that rolled with me loved it. Are you kidding? Jack Mulligan loved it.
But that was you're ahead of your time.
Huh?
When you started wearing all the nice clothes and all the stuff and all the alligator shoes. I mean, the Rolex watches. I mean, you were ahead of your time.
You know, I buy my clothes at Michael's in Kansas City. Michael's of Kansas City puts it together. So bring the camera in one time. You like it? That's why this sport coat costs $800 and that costs $200. And I don't know what that costs. I'd be ashamed to wear it. My shoes cost more than your house.
Really, you had a sense of fashion, and because you looked like $1 million back in the day. How in the hell did you keep all those suits pressed the way you did and travel with all that stuff?
You want to know the truth?
Yes, I do.
I bought so much clothes. I bought literally. I tried not to wear the same outfit, and you can look on it on Atlanta TV twice.
I believe you. I've seen it.
I mean, I very rarely are you going to see me wearing the same thing. That's how much money I spent on clothes.
What were they thinking at Crockett when you showed up with all this stuff? Because, I mean, you're living larger than life, and of course, you're the main guy. You're drawing all the money. I guess my question is, would you have been able to push the envelope like you did back then in today's system?
Yes.
You think so?
But I would have to be. First of all, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the evenings as much. But in terms of wrestling, if I could bring my gimmick when I was at my heyday to the table right now in Stamford, he wouldn't have enough money.
What's causing all this? 10 pounds of gold around one hell of a body, one hell of a man. I'll tell you what's causing it. Guts, fortitude, dusty roads, something you're very short of.
To talk about getting into the ring with Dusty Rhodes. Dusty, we just lost Dusty a few months ago, and he was a guy that was a huge influence on you.
Oh.
And me as growing up, a generation behind you, watching you guys lock up in the ring, and you'd be calling something, and you'd feed in, and I don't know what he'd call it, but when he started doing this kind of snake charmer, and you would just kind of look at it, wait for the big atomic elbow, and I'd come off my couch to this day watching that stuff. What was it about you two guys when you got into the squared circle, magic happened, and people bought in? And I'll tell you what, when y'all broke his damn leg, and there in the Omni in Atlanta, a real heat, what was it like to do business with the Dream?
I can't put it into words the best. We had arguments, don't misunderstand me. But just a very unusual chemistry. We didn't talk about anything, same thing. And he, the first time he wrestled this was his, this is a guy supremely confident.
Yeah.
When we get going to lock up in Greensboro, sold out, he says, just like the opening at Caesar's Palace, kid, hang on. But how do you start it, right?
Yeah.
Because they were that loud. I mean, boom, boom, boom. And don't, I wrestled Dusty some hour Broadways.
I know.
People don't give him credit for that. We didn't go like me and Steamboat 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But he didn't ask. He did our Broadways too. We did a lot of them probably. I bet we did 100 over all the years. Because in Florida, that was Eddie Graham's deal, do the hour, right? So
here's the one big thing: promos. Your promo was nothing but supreme confidence. You were the best at everything. You had a better watch, a bigger car, a fancier shoe, more expensive shoes. It was always you're the guy that had everything better than the next guy. What was the genesis for the Ric Flair promo? Because you're one of the best talkers, if not the best, in the history of the business. And most of it, with respect, was blowing smoke up your own ass and making, that you were the Nature Boy.
Yeah.
And no one knew it more than you.
Dusty Rhodes, the world television champion. Our egos ride side by side. He doesn't like me getting ahead, and it hurts me right here for him to get ahead.
Well, first of all, with Dusty and I, you have to understand, this is a God's honest truth. I mean, you know the story about the fur coats, right?
No.
Okay, we're at the Dunes. It's 90 degrees, NWA convention. 90 degrees outside Las Vegas, right? There's a world-famous furrier there, right? So we're with our wives, Michelle and Beth, right? It's 90 degrees. He walks in, and I thought he went inside to get a drink. We're sitting out in the patio or something. I can't remember where we were. Comes walking out, and he's got a full-length fur coat. I said, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "I bought it over there." Okay, $8,000, right?
Yeah, of course.
I walk in, he's got a full-length black mink, $12,000. So, okay. Michelle walks in, comes walking out, 3/4 cut, some kind of mink, right?
Yeah.
Of course, my wife, who thought she was Cleopatra anyway, said, "Oh, we'll just put an end to all this." Walks in and comes out with a blue fox with a trailer. $42,000. If I bought a house, he bought a bigger one. If I bought a Mercedes, he bought a bigger one. And we did this went on for years.
It was straight up shoot.
Yeah. I bought a big house, like the first big house I had, like $300,000, and he bought one for about $350 right across the street, like this, right? So, no, we did it. I mean, he'd get a Mercedes, I'd get a Mercedes,
Tell me about the night that y'all were in the Omni when y'all broke his legs, and seemingly you were going to maybe come to the good side, and all of a sudden here comes
flipped on him,
Ole, Arn, Tully, all you guys, and you come off on his leg, and the crowd literally was trying to get inside that cage to tear you guys to shreds.
We couldn't get out. Poor Sam Houston climbed over the cage. We thought he was a mark, and Ole killed him. You know that, right?
No.
Oh, yeah, Sam Houston come right over. We couldn't tell, right?
Yeah, and Sam Houston was Jake the Snake's half-brother.
Yeah, who was in the business.
Good worker.
Yeah, he came over the top, and Ole took him, and bam, bam, and Arn nailed him one time, and Christ, he's sure, I'm trying to help you. Poor kid. No, they kept us in there for almost an hour. We couldn't get out, because they wouldn't let us out. The cops couldn't get off the ring.
How fun was that? I mean, because that's it.
Well, it was great, I have been in situations where I thought to myself, this is going to end up like San Domingo or Puerto Rico, where I have been in real trouble
But it's great to have that kind of heat.
Oh, yeah.
And especially this was back in the day.
It was a long walk.
Yeah.
With the Omni back, too. That was the biggest problem. Getting the crowd, after we got the door open, was getting the crowd to open. And they just didn't have enough. They ended up bringing in like 10 more cops.
Was there ever any issues when you guys were checking into hotels and all of a sudden you guys roll in and they're like, oh, Jesus Christ, it's
no, actually, the hotels liked us coming in because...
Well, because you're part of the entourage, the posse that you kind of blasted out. We're going to be at the Marriott tonight.
Marriott, 18 to 28, no boyfriends, no husbands.
Tell me about
that worked from all my marriages. So, I've had to bump the group up now from 35 to 46.
So what did you think when you first came into then WWF, now WWE? Because it was
I was excited. I was excited, man. I had so many friends up there. I was tired of Jim Herd, man. I'd cut my hair. You know, that caused me more anxiety. He wanted to call me Spartacus. He wanted me to wear a diamond earring and call me Spartacus.
After years of being Nature Boy Ric Flair, they want to call you Spartacus.
Kevin Sullivan said, "Why don't we change Mickey Mantle's number 2?" Herd said, "You don't understand the business." Yeah. You didn't know that? He wanted to call me Spartacus. I cut my hair, and I walked to the Charlotte airport, and nobody knew me. I wanted to kill myself. I went in the bathroom. I said, "Do I look like nobody knew me?" Instead of, "Hey, wait, H, woo, woo, woo," nothing, zero. Yeah. I cut my hair. All that hair.
Was that an identity crisis?
Yes.
Did that mess with your head?
Yes.
On a performance level?
Yes. On a performance level, no.
Yeah.
No, because the minute I got to WWE, I wasn't concerned. I had no idea if they were going to make me the champion. He didn't. There was no guarantees with him. He just told me I'm going to make you more money and shook my hand.
Yes.
And then the sad thing is, Arn was leaving and I was coming, so we missed that time together. And but he understood why I couldn't stay there anymore. Herd's crazy.
But did you feel like you were able to go as far out in your first run in WWE than you had been in with the Crockett's? Because I didn't think that it was quite the same.
No, it wasn't because, number one, the companies run differently.
Yeah.
Number two, but if you think about it, at the end of the day, while I was here, I wrestled Hogan, Brett, Undertaker, and I got to wrestle Undertaker in house shows, and I wrestled Savage. That's a hell of a lineup to work with, right? WrestleMania, got to go to that, first time ever. I had a ball on those European tours, man, traveling with Undertaker and all those guys.
But what about traveling with Bobby Heenan?
The best.
They put you with Bobby, and Bobby was like, he could do it all. He could work, he could manage, he could talk, he could commentate.
People need to know this. Bobby Heenan, if he had just been a performer, would go down in history as one of the top 20 performers of all time. Bobby could bump and work and talk and everything. But as Bobby got older, they made him my manager when I first came in, right?
Yeah.
So he goes on one loop with me. You heard the story, right?
Yeah, why don't you tell it?
Yeah, he goes. So we start out in the first loop is L.A., San Francisco, Oakland, right? Back to Phoenix the other weekend, and then into the Garden. Well, I kept Bobby up all night, every night. We're flying back on the red eye from Phoenix, and he's going, "I hate you." I said, I wish your hair would fall out and grow back red. He gets to the Garden. He says, I don't know where I get this kind of reputation. He says to Vince, "If you want someone to travel with Larry Flint, find somebody else. It ain't me." I hate him. I'm never going to go near him again. So then, that's when Vince put me with Earl Hebner, calm him down, right? I hear I won that this year. Can you think about this now? I'm the world champion, right? Or getting to be at the WWE, where I've just come from, where I'm lowly, disrespected by Jim Herd, not by the guys, but just left in this terrible position, which really messed me up in my self-confidence. I get up here and riding down the road with born again Ted one day, next day fixing them up again. You know the deal, right? I drove DiBiase crazy, but Kurt Hennig, Terry Taylor was here. Sherry Martel. Give me a break. So many nice people. And then Shawn was just a kid, just started, but he was up here then, and always got along good with Shawn.
Speaking of Shawn Michaels, that brings me to the WrestleMania 24 match that you guys had, in which your career was on the line. Mm-hmm. And how emotional were you going into that match?
Well, the whole thing and I, since I'm having the opportunity to talk about it, and I've said this, I say this to professional athletes in other sports. I think that my retirement, the way it was orchestrated, where I wrestled Vince and then there were Randy Orton and all these people were nice enough to do the favor for me in the roadblock to get to Sean, right? And of course, Sean, who I, with you, think is probably the greatest in-ring performer in the history of our business. So, but to be able to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, you were there, and have unlimited time to talk, even though I got in so much trouble, I just kept talking. And then to wrestle Sean, where literally Sean just said to me, I said, just shut your mouth. I don't want to hear one word. Basically, pretty easy. It was Sean working with himself and me just there. And of course, afterwards, the response from the crowd was just, how many athletes get to experience a time like that? I mean, I don't know of any. I mean, I've seen Lou Gehrig run out in the field and all that, but to have that 3-day run, and then on top of that, I'm away out of town, they tell me to come over to Raw and do that where everybody comes out. I mean, I was so devastated the next day that I wasn't in the business. I can't tell you, Steve.
But you were devastated as soon as he kicked you, because if you go back and you watch the film, you get kicked. You go flat on the mat. You're already crying. Yeah. And he jumps on you for the cover. And then there's some words that were said there.
It was over.
It was over.
My kids in
the 4
front
times,
row.
but it was over. And then you went over to ringside and you gave a hug and a kiss to each of your kids. And to me, it was almost like finally Dad is coming home. Mm-hmm. How's the transition?
Yeah, I just started living vicariously through my kids. Ashley and Reed, everything with them, right? Didn't miss any of Ashley's sporting events, from gymnastics to volleyball and Reed's wrestling, and then the company started using me less, and I just a few appearances. The Mickey Rourke thing when you got inducted, remember I was instrumental. We come out there with Mickey and all that and stuff, but it's just a way of life. It's hard to let go of.
You brought up your son Reed, who passed away several years ago. He was just brought up in a WWE storyline. How are you with that?
I just know that it's very hard for Ashley, emotionally, and for me. But I understand the business, and when I ended my critique, I just don't like to see Ashley cry. She's cried enough. And those are real tears when she starts talking about him.
When my little brother passed away, you were there for me. I am here today because of him. And that's the only reason to fulfill his dream. And
she went to work every day to do something for him because it's what he always wanted to be. Yeah. And now she has fulfilled his dream. My take on this is, he's sitting up there going, man, they're still talking about me. So I'm not worried about what he thinks. I think he's going, this is cool, they're still talking about me. I'm involved, because he's probably driving my mom and dad nuts. He's in timeout all the time. So I get the business. I told people I didn't like it when Lawler was wearing out Bret Hart's parents. Yeah. Because it's like personal, you know what I mean? And even though Bret's family, I've asked Bret, his mom and dad loved it, it was, it's emotional, but I don't blame anybody for it. And the thing that I have since found out is Ashley said, yeah.
How proud of her are you?
Well, people ask me this all the time, and her being in the positions and now in the day she won the title in Houston at Night of Champions was the biggest thing that ever happened in my career. Was her winning.
Yeah, her winning that.
Yep, that meant prior to that it would have been Sean, and when I retired, and the Hall of Fame and all that in one weekend. And I've had some great, Starrcade with Harley. I mean, there's a lot of big moments, but by far and away, her winning that night, considering what's gone on in her personal life and mine as well, and the loss and all that, it was the biggest night of my career. That's how much it meant to me.
Is being the daughter of Ric Flair a pro or a con for her? There's good and bad with that?
Well, here's the deal. I never even called anybody to get her in. Johnny Ace walked up to her in Miami in 2012 at the Hall of Fame induction of the Horsemen. I had brought her and Reed there, and he said, "Why aren't you wrestling?" He's known her forever. And she had just graduated from college. She was personal training, and she said, "I don't know." And she walked over to me, and "Do you think I could do that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's a big commitment of your time." Well, that was in April, and in July she was in Tampa.
One of the things when I see her, I mean, she reminds me a lot of you, but she carries herself with this dignity, this class, this composure, and an alpha female. Do you feel like she has pressure on her because she is your daughter? She has to represent.
I think she did. I don't anymore, because I think that people realize that she's a better athlete than I ever was. She's a level 9 gymnast, and all that stuff now is paid off. And she's 5'11" and weighs 155 pounds. And she ain't afraid of anything. But trust me, that going back and forth with Rhonda, they tweet, right? You know, and I tell people, if you let her go train with somebody that can teach her for a year, she's not afraid of her. And that's the biggest part of it. She ain't afraid of anything. So,
I've heard it said a million times, Ric Flair, arguably the greatest of all time. Well, I'm still waiting to hear the argument against Rick as the greatest of all time, and I don't think that I'll ever hear it because, quite frankly, I don't think that there is one.
You know, like I'm saying, a lot of the guys consider you to be the best ever. Triple H is one of those people. He was a huge fan of yours coming up. You were his everything, his idol. And so all these years later, what are your thoughts on him and what has your relationship been like with him?
Well, you know, I talked to him yesterday, and I know he's so busy now, but he actually is my best friend. He and I got so close in that period of time, and he, you know, bringing up a sad note, when Reed died, the first person I called was on her. Yeah. I mean, that's how close, because he's knowing the kids, of course, and now he was so hands-on with Ashley, you know, at a very difficult time, because that happened when she had just gone to Tampa. It was Good Friday of 13. So I can't say enough good about him. I mean, he's in a tough spot sometimes because he's working for a tough guy. But I don't think for 1 second that he has become insensitive. I think that he, you know, tries to make light of things because he's the kind of guy he's pretty witty, as you know, can be funny. But he's a sincere guy, and I mean, it's when I say I looked at him. I said, I'm not crazy about her doing this, but I know that you'll take care of her, and that's saying a lot.
To me, I love what he's done with NXT down there. It's very simple. It's very organic. It's straightforward, and to me, man, that's what the business is all about. Yeah. It's not rocket science.
It's totally different than Raw.
He's stripped it down to the bare basics of what you need, and you got to have those emotions. You have to care about the people that are performing, but you know, less is more, and simple is better. And I think that's what he's done.
Oh, it's what he's done all the way. And I'm just, if you think about it now, you know what he did is Vince finally came in San Jose to see the show. And Vince got on board. And Ashley was wrestling Sasha that night, or Charlotte was wrestling Sasha. They tore it down, and Sean walked up to my daughter and to Sasha and said, if I'm a guy in this roster, I'm going to get it together because you guys are better than they are.
I said the same thing. I watched Sasha wrestle Bayley, also Charlotte versus Bayley, and Charlotte versus Sasha. And I said, man, these are matches that
for guys.
If the guys in the back ain't watching this, because it's not about going 100 miles an hour and doing a bunch of supercross stuff. Yeah. Man, it was, they're out there telling a great story. They're working with real heat.
And getting time.
And getting time.
Yeah, 18 minutes. I mean,
swig of water for the NXT movement, and hopefully they keep going down the road they're going.
But I think his legacy is set. He's going to be, you know, because if you look at this, and this is very important too, this is a regular week for him, or was, okay? Pay-per-view, Raw, SmackDown, and then on Tuesday night when Tough Enough was on, they were going right to that. Vince, everyone too, right? Or then NXT. So he's got a beautiful family, 3 beautiful daughters, Stephanie couldn't be sweeter, but his time, you know, when he's up in Stanford, Vince has got him in that damn office.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
To balance all that, yeah.
But he's doing it. He's doing a good job.
Doing a great job.
Let's talk about Vince for a second. What's your relationship been like with Vince from when you first met him to where you're at now?
Oh, God. Here's another point. I can't say anything bad about him. I mean, he's treated me like gold. I mean, if he hadn't brought me back here, let's just say that when WCW folded, right? What if I never came back on? Look what we wouldn't be talking about half the stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
Wrestling, Shawn, Hunter, everybody, Undertaker, all this stuff, right? So that meant the world to me. He's always been there. When I've had financial woes through my divorces, he's lent me money, but I have paid him back. So that, I think he sometimes, he has, I mean, one time I was into him for $800,000, $800,000. He said, I wouldn't lend my kid this kind of money. But I got my WrestleMania check from Shawn. Won't tell you what it was. It was a lot. Yeah. Biggest paycheck I ever got in my life, right? For deposit only, handed it back to him. And he must, because he called me. He said, if you want me to write this off, I won't hold it against you. In other words, if I want to go bankrupt,
right,
I won't hold it against you. I said, no, I'll pay back. And I paid him back every dime. Interest, no interest, yeah. But $800,000 is a lot of money. Phantom income with a government, man, that doesn't work.
But tell me if you'd agree with this. I always tell everybody, and I've had good times and bad times with Vince, and I always tell everybody I love working with the guy, and I learned more working with him than I did in college. But the thing I like most about Vince, other than his work ethic, when he shakes your hand, when he looks you in the eye, and tells you something's going to be done, it is done. You don't need a piece of paper. He's a man of his word.
Yeah.
You're not an 80s heel anymore. 80s heels don't work in this business. You go over there and figure out what you're doing. You go watch that match. You go to the cafeteria right now, watch that match. Malenko, you go with him, and then come back and tell me why you get slammed off the top rope every night. Come back and tell me. Go watch it.
You walk to that curtain, and if I know I've had a good match, I just didn't even look at him. Yeah. But if I know there's something that he doesn't like, I kind of peek through the hole. What's up, boss? See what he's doing. If he's either texting or talking or looking or going, hey, that.
I worked with Kurt Angle. I think it was San Jose or San Diego, somewhere. I thought we tore the house down. It was a big pay-per-view, and he didn't like it at all. Yeah. And let me know he didn't like it. Yeah. And so sometimes you have those come to Jesus meetings with him. But at the end of the day, all he wants is the best you got. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what he gives you, the best he's got.
He's a man of his word.
A man of his word.
You can't ask for any more. I mean,
no, you can't.
That's it. In this world, in the world of big business, he shakes your hand. And I'll tell you something else he wouldn't do. He's had to slow down a little bit now, but he would never ask you or me or anybody else to do something that he wouldn't do.
Oh, I said it time and time again, because I busted his ass, steel chairs and bumps off the cage. That was his idea. I've always said that about the guy. So anyway, swig a beer.
The run with you and him, or you jumping on top of him? I mean, we're sitting down here. I'm going, I don't think WCW realizes that they ain't going to be open much longer. I was cheering. I was going, oh, yeah.
That being said, I wish the Monday Night Wars would have ended different. I wish WCW would have kept running, and maybe we didn't buy it, because I believe this world is better with competition, and I don't consider any other commodity a viable competition.
Well, the thing with those is it's easy for you to sit up here and say you wish you to work there. You would have gone out of your mind, because you're up here with a professional guy, where there's a game plan that starts WrestleMania the day after WrestleMania. Down there, guys get there at 5 o'clock. The show starts live at 8. Nobody knows what's going on. 4 different camps: Hall, Nash, Sting, Luger, Flair. Our camp was just trying to figure out a way to get to the bar and get away from the insanity. I mean, it was just and then Hogan and Savage, you know? And it was just no way to run a business. And once you've been up here and experienced that, like I had been, and you were here, right? I mean, you think Stone Cold Steve Austin could have survived, and that you would have wanted to kill everybody. You'd have walked.
I ended up in the right place at the right time. I'm so
Yeah.
thankful for Eric Bischoff firing me, and I would have never got this opportunity to stop by Philadelphia with ECW, have a cup of coffee, have a good come to Jesus meeting with Paul Heyman, teach me how to cut a promo, and then off the sunset into WWE. He was a bad gimmick, turned it around, and had a hell of a run. But anyway, I've been hearing you've been doing some voiceover work for an animated show that's going to be on WWE Network called Camp WWE. What is this all about?
It's very similar to a lot of the animated TV shows now, voiceover.
Yeah.
And the characters, Rock and John Cena, and I think like Vince and I are in the role of people that are giving advice and trying to keep everything on board. It's very good though, and very entertaining.
In all the years that you did the business, and all of a sudden a show like this comes out, would you have ever expected it back in the day?
No.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, in a cage?
Never. As a matter of fact, I would have never, which I think, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but the whole network, right? You don't understand what life that gives a guy like me. I'm on that thing in 10 different episodes. The only thing I'm not on, and thank God I'm on your thing because your damn podcast is got all the spaces going, continuing, and recommended. Thank God I'm on this. This means Lesnar will be gone. It'll be you and me.
I don't know. But I would have checked out Camp WWE just to hear this life-changing advice.
Call me,
okay. I'm going to call you off the record.
Okay.
But before we go, we're going to wrap this thing up. But you got a favorite story?
Oh God. If you really want to know what I was all about, is in 1986, I rented. Because I really thought I was a big shot then. I rented a suite on top of Caesar's Palace, $4,000, right? Just for the suite. It was 86. It was me, JJ, Tully Blanchard, and the pilots. So I called downstairs and I said, hey, we need some entertainment, right? So about an hour later, I opened the door, and I thought it was 3 maids. So I called back downstairs, the guy, and I go, Danny, that was the guy's name. I knew him. I don't know why. Still remember that. I said, Danny, pretend like you're talking to old Blue Eyes, okay?
Yeah.
Pretend this is Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Send me what I'm talking about. Hour later, holy cow, man. To the ATM, 1,000 apiece. So I had we had a big hot tub with a curtain around it. Ordered Caesar. I ordered Dom Perignon, Caesar salad, JJ ate, poured the champagne. The pilots were in that tub. Are you kidding me? Next day, $11,000. That's all I can say.
I want all the women headed to Florida to remember you don't have to go to Disney World to find Space Mountain. Every time I turn around, there's a pair of bodacious tatas in my face. When you get on Space Mountain, you'll be like this.
As I said at the beginning of the podcast, I consider you to be the greatest professional wrestler in the history of the business. What are your thoughts on your legacy that you left behind as a person that did work in the squared circle?
I don't dwell on that because that's like I said at my Hall of Fame induction. To me, everybody's got a different deal. If I'm looking at the business, the biggest star in the history of our business is you. It's not even arguable, okay? I said it at my Hall of Fame induction. So tired of hearing about Hulk being the biggest star. Because when Vince McMahon inducted you and he started running those numbers, and he knows the numbers of what you drew, what you meant to the company, and basically what you brought to this attitude thing, which they've still not gotten over. With me, I would like to be remembered as the guy that worked the hardest, because I do think I worked harder than anybody, and as a guy that wrestled everybody. I mean, I did. From Brody to Hanson to Steve Austin, Jack Briscoe, Dory. I mean, how many people can say they did that in their lifetime? And then later on, Shawn, Hunter, Undertaker. The only guy I've never wrestled in a single match, that was there when I retired, is John Cena. But I mean, Randy Orton. Look at who I wrestled. Piper, Hogan. I didn't miss anybody. And I had a good time.
Hey, man, thank you for coming out here to the Broken Skull Ranch. I appreciate it.
It's a memory. I'm going to go outside and take a picture of this. I'm going to post it on Facebook.
Absolutely.
This is the Broken Skull Ranch, owned by Steve Austin. The helicopter pad you can't see, it's over here.
And
the 500 herd cattle over here on the other side of the farm.
I'm happily out here in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Well, when you don't answer the phone when I'm texting, I know why. There's no signal.
Yeah, no. Got to have AT&T out here.
Is that by design?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. I'm on it.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And welcome to T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio Podcast. The most fun you'll ever listen to while you're folding your clothes. Now let's get this straight. This is not your average podcast. T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio is super fun, super crazy. It's pretty much an in-your-face conversation. That's the good thing about us. We don't do interviews. We do conversations. All of my guests, all of my co-hosts, we chill. We drink, we play games. We have the song of the week. We have the creative curse word of the week. As long as you're having fun as our guest. Speaking of guests, each week I'm going to go through my whole contact list and dive head first into the world of music, gaming, exotic cars, tech, strippers probably, doctors probably strippers that are only stripping so they can pay for tuition to become a doctor. You never know. My wife is a certified bartender. She'll make you a drink while you're here. We'll get you drunk and make you play VR after. It's a lot going on. But that's what it's all about over here at T-Pain's Nappy Boy Radio Podcast. See you soon, baby!